It's so funny to me that we have like the big episode to talk about now because I feel like we already talked about it, but we did not.
We did not. And I actually took notes for the last Blur, correct?
Yes.
I didn't take notes for this one because we did the watch along with this one, so I bungled that.
Okay.
Yeah, because Rabbit kind of sucks. So.
Well, it would be hard to take notes and be live for a watch along. I would think.
A little bit.
I don't know. I'm like super not talkative when I watch these episodes, which I know I've mentioned before, but I'm like kind of that jerk that's no fun to watch with because if anyone talks at all, I'm like, shh, no, we have to rewind it.
That's my favorite person to watch a movie with. Yeah. My favorite is when people ask questions about movies that we're experiencing for the first time together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wait, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm watching it with you. I don't know.
It's an indie movie. There's literally no context for this.
Yeah.
There's no source material for me to refer back to.
I saw Good Time. I think Zach was asking me if I knew who Robert Pattinson's character was. I was like, no. Good Time is an indie movie that maybe 20,000 people are going to see total over its entire lifespan. No one knows what this is.
No one. No, now it's really hard for me because, like, before, I could tell Nate, like, shut up. I'm trying to watch a scene. We have to rewind it. But now I can't tell my baby that. Like, he doesn't know this is an important scene.
Did you try telling your baby that?
I mean, there were definitely moments that I just, like, passive-aggressively turned the volume way up because he's over there playing with his dancing Groot, and it's just like, dan, 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 and I'm like, I can't hear Peter Baelish.
Gosh.
Talking on to all those prostitutes. Gosh dang.
I know, although there was a really vivid Roz scene, and he was in the room
there sure
for it.
was.
And I used my book like this in front of him. I was like, ooh, don't look, buddy. No, no.
There sure
don't
was.
watch that.
And
no, buddy.
I don't know if I'm getting older or what, but I started like, that's too much, man.
Are you talking about that sweet, sweet brothel kiss?
Well, there's just a lot of the brothel scenes. A lot of the brothel scenes now. I'm just like,
Sure.
That was so gross.
Didn't really bother me when the first time I watched it. Now I'm like, this is too much for me, man. I'm too old for this shit.
Well, I'm excited to get into it with you.
All right, let's do it. So this is a minor episode in the Game of Thrones canon.
Really a throwaway.
Tell us. By the way, I'm not rolling yet. 1 second. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to Hard to Say Goodbye. This is the show where our hosts, DJ Wooldridge.
That's me.
And Trisha Hershberger.
What's up?
Thanks for joining us. And Sam Bashor are going to help you through one of the toughest times in your life. It's when your favorite show ends. We're going to be talking about Game of Thrones, specifically Season 1, Episode 9. DJ categorized this as a throwaway episode.
Yeah,
so
this is just
will be
a minor episode within the Game of Thrones canon. To be fair, I did miss the last 5 minutes.
There you go. Okay. But we'll play catch up. We'll fill you in.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is Episode 9, titled Baelor.
Yes.
Here's your quickie synopsis, that's air quotes, this is kind of lengthy. Varys visits Ned again in the dungeons and tells what Sansa did to save his life and advises him to accept the offer. Catelyn negotiates with the repulsive Lord Walder Frey to cross the river. The Crossing of the River by Rob. I should have read this before I copied and pasted it.
Is this from IMDb?
That is correct. Crossing the River by Rob and his army, and Frey accepts, provided Arya and Rob marry with his children. Jon Snow receives a valuable sword from Mormont and lives a dilemma to make a choice of helping Rob or stay with the Night's Watch and to live with the consequences for the rest of his life. The infection in the wound of Drogo makes him weak, and Daenerys summons the witch to heal him. She tells that a life must be sacrificed in exchange, and she kills Drogo's horse. The Lannister army attacks Rob's army and discovers that Rob lured them, leaving only 2,000 men behind, while 18,000 men have attacked Jaime's army and made him prisoner. Arya sees her father being brought chained in front of the crowd, and don't worry, I won't spoil it from there. Yeah, he's probably so
it works out fine.
Yeah, it works out fine, and then the episode ends. Oh, but then Ned gets beheaded.
What? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, this is a spoiler podcast.
Well, remember all those dicks that were wearing Ned's Dead t-shirts after this?
After this?
So after this came out, everyone was wearing these Ned's Dead t-shirts, and I was like, fuck you guys. For anyone that's not caught up or hasn't seen season 1, come on.
Fun fact. So Monica and I have been watching Sharp Objects on HBO. Did not love the finale of that, although it's still a show well worth watching. However, there was an article when we were trying to unpack the ending. There was an article published 3 days before, like, "Hey, this is how the book ends. You think the show's going to end the same way?" what are you doing? Of course it is. The rest of the show is lined up with the book. What are you doing? And so I'm glad this wasn't a thing before Game of Thrones, because going into this episode, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I thought this show did a really excellent job of masking their twist, because to mask a twist well, I think, especially on TV, you need to set up a very plausible scenario for it. And the scenario is Ned, it's going to hurt a little bit, but Ned's going to suck up his pride, and he's going to lie and say that he the first time the whole show he's going to lie. And he's going to say he did it. He betrayed him. And then he's going to be on the wall. And you're like, oh, shit, John and Ned.
Tragic.
Tragic, but also a cool direction for the show to go in, because it's going to be Ned and John on the wall. And they're going to be solving wall stuff, because we know stuff's going on there.
Wall mysteries.
Yeah, wall mysteries. And you're like, yeah, I could envision that show. And as an audience member, I don't know how it was as a book reader when you read the book for the first time. As an audience member, like, all the advertising was Ned on the chair. Ned's the main guy. Ned's our lead character in my mind.
We didn't get in the books. You don't get that it's Sean Bean, so you don't get the like, oh well, he's the big A-list talent of the show. We didn't get that, but you do certainly get that this entire series is about the Stark family.
Yeah,
you're like, and they're obviously the good guys, and everybody else is shitty, and Ned is king of the good guys, and like that's who you're rooting for the whole time. And it's definitely written in the books the same way, that like when that happens, you're like, wait, what? No, wait, no. Like, there were a few moments reading the books that I literally took the book and threw it across the room. Like, I just shut it and threw it because I was so mad. Yeah. And that was the first one of those moments.
Yeah, because I thought when it happened, you know, because we've seen situations like this before, All Seems Lost, characters in the thing, and I was just waiting for somebody to come out of the woodwork, like using future show lore.
Like a Robin Hood type, in from the back, shooting an arrow.
Right?
Exactly.
Anything.
Yeah, and so you're like, okay, we're ready for it to go down, and then the sword goes down. I was like, I had to text a friend who read the books. I'm like,
is this different?
Yeah, because watching it now, it's super sudden. Watching it now, you clearly see the sword go through his neck. But at the time, it's so sudden that you're like, could next week, like, Ned be fine?
I want to say people were like screen capping second by second and putting it online.
Yeah.
When it happened on the show.
And my buddy was like, yeah, that happened. And I was like, but you can't do that. You can't kill your main guy.
That's the correct feeling.
Yeah, that's against the rules. You can't do that. That's the reason I watched this show.
For me, I hopped into this last year, so this was...
so you didn't know.
I didn't know.
No, it was spoiled for you, though, because you had seen the later episodes, right?
I had, but also it was spoiled for me pretty early on, like with like the Red Wedding and stuff. Like a lot of big events. Besides...
Because people could shut up about it.
Besides what happens in battles, I kind of knew roughly... what happens, like Tyrion's fate in later seasons and stuff like that. Like I don't need to spoil that, because if you're watching along with us, yay, that's cool. But no, but it's still you still have a glimmer of hope every time you watch it, where you're like, why? I know what happens. But you think that like he's doing all the right things. Everybody's kind of on the same page, even though they're bastards. You think like, oh, whatever, the kid will do whatever. Like Joffrey will just kind of roll with this. And he'll be a shitty king, but we'll figure out. We'll strategize from the wall, and maybe like the North could be versus the South or something like that. It's like no. Joffrey wins. Everybody sucks, forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting too. Something I really like that this show did is it's not so much that evil people being evil. It's Joffrey being evil, but being unpredictable, because they emphasize this in later episodes more. But like everybody had a plan, and this was their plan.
Yeah.
And clearly Joffrey was either not in on the plan or didn't care about the plan or whatever, because everybody makes it clear, like, nobody, the Lannisters didn't want Ned to get beheaded. Nobody other than Joffrey wanted to see Ned get beheaded.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the fact, and it's interesting rewatching it that I never liked Joffrey, but it's now in these two episodes where you realize what a steaming pile of shit he is as a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's not just annoying. He's awful.
Yeah. He's awful.
Yeah.
And you, like, talking about people who had different, who, like, kind of had a strategy for this. You have Varys visiting Ned again.
Yes.
Because it was like, when we were doing the rewatch for this, he visits him in the dungeon. That's how the episode before that starts, too. And I was like, oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. But no, those scenes are so good, and that's when, you get the idea that Varys is, like, he's not, like, totally bad. He's just out for himself / the realm. He'll say the realm, but also, let's be real, it is selfish
he's
too.
like, I need to survive, and this is how I survive.
He has a speech in one of the episodes we're going to discuss later today that kind of like cements that idea. But you know, if you thought everybody had it bad with Ned, all the people in the North Westeros had it bad. Don't worry, Dany's not doing so hot either.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, no, Drogo's, he got infected super quick, like
Yes.
super duper quick, which is,
It's because Miri Mazdur is an asshole.
yeah.
Well, and it's interesting. I can't wait to talk about that in the next episode because that's an interesting, very Game of Thronesian complex set of situations that compiled there. But yeah, Drogo, and it's also funny. Ned's the big death, but it is funny. This show just knocks off characters so quick because like Robert dies off camera. In between episodes, Khal Drogo's fallen off his horse. Like he's become super infected. Like it's and these are characters that you think like I thought we were going to be with these people for the long haul. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it has to be done that way, where they're dropping off super fast and a lot of
he's
times
got
not
200
seen.
other characters to introduce.
Not only because he has introduced and will introduce so many characters, but also because of the point of view nature that the books are written. So many of the deaths we don't get to see because you hear about it from, like, for example, the big end scene of this episode where Ned's executed.
Yeah.
That's an Arya POV chapter. So you only get to see that from Arya's POV in the books, which I thought they did a really nice job of relating and redoing in the series.
Yeah.
But because of that, there's a lot of times that, like, no one that has a POV chapter, like Lancel doesn't have a POV chapter. Who would have seen Robert's death that would have a POV chapter? Nobody. So that happens off camera.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like there's a lot of that was probably a big challenge for the showrunners and the writers to adapt into a television series, and I think they did a brilliant job. They only used it to build suspense, I think.
And actually, that's interesting since it was Arya's point of view, and you see, it's really beautiful. It's tragic, but when Ned gets beheaded, it's only her looking up, and you see the birds fly away after that happened. But also, her entire mentality for like going forward about what her drive-in is in life and who she wants to kill. One of those people is related to her, but also she's not seeing how Sansa's reacting to Joffrey's decision. So it's like, in her mind, she's just up there and on board with whatever's happening. And Arya doesn't know what Sansa's been trying to do, like not even behind the scenes. Publicly, Arya's just not aware of what she's been doing to fight for.
And also, they're children at the time, so it's harder for them to empathize with what the other one
Well, and Arya and
through.
Sansa hate each other at this point. Yeah, sibling rivalry is at its peak right now.
Yeah, so it's a tough episode for the Starks, and it's a tough episode for Dany. Is it working out for anybody? Is anybody having a good episode?
It is Jon. Hey, Jon up at the wall gets Longclaw.
He does.
That's exciting.
I love that sword, man, and that sword gets the best payoff in about 6 seasons.
But isn't it crazy when and we get to find out that Aemon's a Targaryen?
That was cool.
That's a cool bomb drop
He's
in this
old
episode.
as shit.
Yeah.
He's old as
like,
shit.
My brother, the Mad King's great-grandfather. Like, whoa!
So yeah, he's an uncle to Aerys Targaryen. Which, are we not spoiling later things?
No, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. Light spoiler, yeah.
No.
Okay, which, when the parentage theories are proven true much later, it actually means he's having a conversation with his great-great-nephew at that moment, which is weird to think about. You're like, oh man, you guys don't know it, but...
And you might never, but we'll find out in
It
future
also means
seasons.
that Aemon is Daenerys's great-uncle.
Okay.
He's so old.
He's
still walking
old,
around and just puttering about.
This is also Tyrion's first battle-ish.
Hammered to the back of the head or whatever, he passes out.
Which we'll talk about it in the book to show comparison. I'm curious if that's how that goes down in the book.
It is not.
Interesting. But I like that. It's also Tyrion's first war speech, and I forgot how good he is at those because he gets another one in season 2 that's real good.
It is really good, but I also like that he skips it. He doesn't even get to experience any of it.
Nope.
And Bronn's also there, so
and also, this is where we first introduced Shay, which is super late in the game. I didn't realize she
You
showed
think
up.
this is late?
Because it's the second to last episode in the first season, and like her importance to Tyrion plays a really big role in the next few episodes. And it's like, but we just introduced her. Jeez.
Yeah, the show moves quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also learn about Tyrion, or is that the next episode when we learn more about Tyrion's? I think I'm ahead of myself.
No, in this episode, Bronn and Tyrion and Shay play the drinking game.
They do.
Gotcha.
Cool. Yeah,
They do. So he gives the Tysha story, which is a bit different.
Yes,
bit different.
We'll discuss that.
Excited for the bonus
At
episode.
this point, it's only a bit different. There's stuff that happens later that gives you more of that story in the books that just never happens in the series.
Stay tuned for our book to show comparison episode on
Yes.
patreon.com/hard-to-say-goodbye.
Yes, I have a lot to say about Tysha.
No, but I liked that story, and it was absolutely hard. It was terrifying and heartbreaking. And Jamie is he kind of a good guy? What's your interpretation? You guys have watched the show 30 times now. What is he kind of a good guy in this scenario, or is he not because it's all a lie, like deep down, like it doesn't matter?
That is a question that I think remains to be seen. Jamie has a lot of real shit qualities about him,
Especially now.
And he seems to not have any moral compass. And then you get slapped upside the head with Jamie suddenly wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah, I think the show does a really good job of depicting, for the most part, people as people, and people are complicated, and they can do good things for bad reasons and bad things for good reasons. And then these couple of episodes really home in the idea of doing all of the right things, and everything goes bad. Making all the right calls, and still, because Dani, at least as an audience member for me, she's making all the right calls. Drogo has a wound. Drogo should get that wound cleaner. It's going to get infected. And there's these outlying factors that she's not taking into consideration.
Yeah, and good job, Dani, stopping that lady from being raped.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of things that we're like, I'm on board with this.
And there's outside factors that she's not, that me as a viewer did not think about, her as a person did not think about.
It totally makes sense.
And the train derails. So I think Jamie's a person, and he's done some, clearly we've seen, very awful things. But obviously we've met his dad, not the best patriarch. He's no Ned.
Yeah.
And that informs him as a person, and his actions inform him as a person. And I think as he gets new information, he grows, which I think is sometimes the best you can ask of somebody.
Yeah, but we'll talk
because there's a lot of characters on the show that start off as what would be considered straight up villains, and then by the end, specifically Jamie and the Hound, it's like it becomes more complicated.
Yeah. I know it's because we also know that he still respects Tyrion. We just haven't seen that really on screen yet.
Yeah, their brotherly relationship is really interesting.
It's complicated.
It's significantly stronger than Tyrion and Cersei's relationship.
Yeah, which in season 2 there's a lot of good scenes between them. But no, like there's part of it where it's like, no, this is fucked up. But it's like he still. Hopefully there's some part of love that's in this, or if it's not, this is just mocking and he's just being an awful person, which he's fully capable of doing that too.
No.
So
dude, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait until we get to the continuation of the Tysha story that never happens in the series.
Oh, good. It's probably not good. Speaking of not good.
Oh, my.
R.I.P. Drogo's horse that just explodes with blood like a super soaker in that bed.
Yeah, that's a really intense scene when we get to see. I feel like it's a response to fights one of the riders, and he's fully armored, and that saves his life because there's one time where he comes in with the hooked sword and it gets caught, and then Jorah fucks that guy up.
Yeah.
Well, I would say the difference between those two fights is Bronn is used to fighting someone with armor on. And none of the Dothraki are.
Yeah, which could be a problem when you go
which
over
is
to
why
Westeros.
you go for the middle and then whoops.
Yeah, and so Jorah fucks that guy up, and then Jorah takes him into the screaming, scary horror tent, which is not what I would have done.
He's probably fine.
Yeah, I think I would have booked it in the other direction if it were me.
Speaking of cool people introduced to the show, Walter Frey, Filch, good to see you.
Yeah.
Is Walder in this episode?
Yeah, that's when we get the deal with
yes, you're right, with Catelyn.
Yeah,
which doesn't come back to bite anybody in the ass.
No, everything's fine, and he definitely isn't a creep, big old creep.
By the way,
is
hindsight,
incest is wincest, or is he just fondling people
No,
like a little?
no, you're mixing him up
incest
with-
is wincest.
Really? Are you because I confuse him sometimes with Craster, who's definitely incest is wincest. I think he's just picking young women from his kingdom and knocking them up.
I thought they were granddaughters.
We'll have to
That is
fact
not
check
my-
that because
that is-
I think they're granddaughters and nieces and stuff.
That was
as
not my
well.
understanding.
Let's do a
But-
cool Google search really
Let's do a
quick.
quick Google search.
but interesting thing with in these episodes that we're discussing today, when Catelyn's like, "Hey, you can't trust this person," maybe listen to her, because there's twice in those episodes where she's like, "Hey, you can't trust that guy," and then Rob's like, "What choice do I have?" Which Rob is right, but maybe it turns out don't trust those people.
Well,
Yeah.
or just if you do trust him, don't fuck him over later.
Yeah, true.
I
It's a
mean,
good-
maybe
that applies to one of the people. That's an intense deal, by the way. Can we cross your bridge? Only if half of your children marry my children.
Well,
Whoa,
because
whoa.
we see his motivation is you guys have always spat on me.
Yeah.
Screw you. I'm going to intermingle my blood so much with your blood that now we're on the same level.
I
Gross.
think if I were Rob, I would have murdered his ass and then taken the bridge.
But to be fair, if he allowed him to pass and the Lannisters are seated at King's Landing, then they would have been like, well, you helped out a traitor, so let me just murder your whole family.
I'm just looking at Craster's whole setup. I don't think, nope, different person. Sorry. I'm thinking of Mr. Walder Frey's setup. Don't think it would have been too hard to murder his ass and take his bridge from him.
As far as I can tell, Frey has not committed incest, just dating very, very
Really?
creepily.
Okay.
He's just an awful
And has gone
dude.
through 8 wives.
Yeah, he's not a good dude.
Is on his 8th wife.
Got it.
Yeah, there's a full list of all the incest happening in Game of Thrones on this.
Don't
Did you just
worry.
Google Game of Thrones incest?
Internet's got your
Frey
back.
incest.
Walder Frey incest.
And
okay.
there's no signs, but he does have some
Okay.
shaky relationships.
That guy.
Now that's all on my brain.
That guy.
That guy. But yes, I actually have a question here.
Read it, would you, Sam?
This is for Sansa. It's from JMR 1022. Do you think Sansa got... we've actually brought this up on the show before, but I do like the question. Do you think Sansa got too much hate from fans due to the hype of Jon and Arya? I know this horse has been beaten to death, but I always held her in high regard. One thing I'd change is her being more protective of Rickon, the forgotten Stark child, as that might have shown her being empathetic before the whole Joffrey shenanigans.
Time out. Are we talking about Sansa or Catelyn?
Sansa. Yeah, Sansa. Because people didn't like her.
No.
Yeah,
I remember
you don't
people
like
not liking Sansa, but when you're talking about attitudes towards Jon and Arya, and go ahead, keep going, and Bran and Rickon, I'm like, does Sansa ever interact with Bran and Rickon?
No.
Does anybody interact
just
with
with Rickon. Is her being one thing I'd change is her being more protective of Rickon, the forgotten Stark child, as they might have shown her being empathetic before the whole Joffrey shenanigans and being the damsel in distress.
But I don't think she is empathetic then. And I think that's the point.
No,
I
it's
don't.
not.
I think she got the right amount of hate in the first season, but she's grown a lot as a character, and I think most people acknowledge that.
That's hard. Yeah, that's hard for me to answer because I had already read so far into the books by the time the first season came out that I was like, leave Sansa alone. God, she's gonna go through some shit, okay?
Yeah.
If you wanted to make Rickon a little bit more interesting, maybe that would have been a tactic because
I agree with
I
that.
didn't remember his name until I just
I
read
think.
it out loud.
I think in hindsight, you could have written Rickon right out of the show, and it wouldn't have changed a damn thing.
No way.
What?
You don't
The
remember?
There's
you
a-
don't remember? There's a pretty big scene.
That doesn't matter because we hadn't seen Rickon for
Oh
my
my-
opinions
it-
of the situation
Sam?
at all.
I was upset.
I was very upset.
I was upset.
Yeah,
I thought it
it
was horrific.
I thought it was a false way to add stakes.
Interesting. Well,
But that's way in the future.
When we rewatch it, I'm interested to
Yeah.
see if you feel the same way.
like I said, Rickon's my favorite character. So, I'm
Right, Team
always-
Rickon all the way.
Team Rickon. I would have loved him getting more screen. Who cares?
I mean, also, oh wait, that's not till. Hold on, that's not till next episode. I was getting ahead of myself
ourselves.
talking about Rickon.
But episode 9 definitely had some uh-ohs, some scary moments, and also it ended with Arya being taken away by the gentleman.
Yoren.
Yeah.
Yoren, thank you.
Who works for the Night's Watch.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Definitely didn't know his name. Didn't know his name watching all these episodes. A lot of blank spaces in my notes because I was like, long black hair man, not John, but he is in Night's Watch. But he's older, but not one of the people that taught. Okay, that's how. Yoren. So we see that's where it ends. But I'm excited.
Bajorianson.
Huh? There it is. But I am excited to talk about episode 10 because that's how we round it out. And season 2 is already off to so many starts with making me feel uncomfortable. So I'm excited for that. But guys, let us know what you thought of episode 9 in the comments down below and tweet at us at Sam Bashor.
At DJ Talks Trash.
At that girl Trish, no, I am the girl.
There you go. And we'll see you guys on episode 10. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Cool. We're going to click that link in the post I made for episode 10. We'll see you over there. Bye.
Bye. Oh, there's a whole conversation.
Hello.
Oh, hello, friend.